and welcome to the Starfall Collective Season 2, King of the Cloudy Sea, Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Adventure. I'm Matthew Talamini, your Dungeon Master. I'm a writer and web developer based in Providence, Rhode Island, and you can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That's Matthew, TALAMINI.com. With me are some of my old college buddies. Sir Robert Burbridge, say hi so people know who you are and tell them where they can find your stuff.
Hi, I'm skeptical that you know who I am, but whatever. You can find a picture of a goose at thefarce.net. However, the inner workings of that goose have been changing, and I am deeply suspicious that they may affect the outer workings of that goose soon.
David Farrell, say hi so people know who you are. Tell them where, if anywhere, they can find your stuff.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm the cave troll that lives in Matt's basement.
Almost true.
He doesn't live in the basement.
Dwight Knall, say hi so people know who you are. Tell them where they can find your stuff if there is any of your stuff available to be found.
Hi, I'm Dwight. And this week, the deal that I have for you, because last week we were allowed to try to sell something. It's like a chain letter. You write down my name and then your name
on a check.
You send it to 10 of your friends, and then those 10 friends have to take the first name on the list and send $10 to that person, and then send it to 10 of their friends, and then they don't change the list. They just add their name to the bottom. Explain all of this in the paragraph text, and it's a really good deal. You should get in on it.
That's awful.
Scheme.
Josh
It's cool not to get in on this deal. Anyone with an ounce of mercantile wits will participate.
What's your address, Dwight?
Garfield.
Where can we send these letters?
You send them to your friends.
And then they send the $10 exactly where?
Sign me up for an unpaid internship with that guy. I want to learn under him.
This isn't fully thought out, you guys. You guys are too many details.
Okay. Josh Stewart, say hi so people know who you are. Tell them where they can find your stuff.
Hey, I am Josh Suich. You can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet with JSUICH. And yeah, it's up to you. Go for a hunt. See what you can find. Dig me up. Google me.
See what you can find. Suich you can find.
Yeah, you'll probably find stuff about the supercomputers that my grandfather programmed back in.
Great, Matt. You're learning. He's learning. I'm so proud.
Okay, great. They're trying to teach me how to be awful. Here's the establishing shot for episode 2. Sunset in 3 ways at the far western edge of the world is a spectacle that can be witnessed in few other places. As the sun draws close to the horizon, the thick fog to the west of the town and southwest begins to glow brighter and brighter orange until the cloudy sea is like a lake of pink, orange, and purple fire, volcanic and impossible to look at directly. As this happens, work on the docks slows as sailors and stevedores cover their eyes and make their way indoors. Then, at the moment when the sun actually touches the horizon, the bells of the 2 official temples ring out simultaneously, the Temple of Pelor in the east, the Temple of Oberon in the west. If you happen to be looking east at that moment, the most gloriously bright rainbow appears, encircling the dark forest of the Elven Empire with a stream of happy color, as the rays of the sun pass through some huge prism of seawater spray somewhere to the west. The rainbow lasts for 10 or 15 minutes until the sun passes behind some thicker cover. Then, over the next half hour, the cloudy sea fades from sunset orange to a light green, the color of grass, ghostly and luminescent. The dim light that this causes, rising up from below, leaves much of the town without any need for lanterns, even for those foreign travelers who lack elven dark vision. The green light fades around midnight. Then the elves all go to their trances, and all are still. But for the night watchmen, bakers who have to be up early, acolytes of Oberon keeping vigil in sacred spaces, and some devotees of Karen howling, thrashing around, laughing in their unspeakable rituals. Fennetir, if you're not a heavy sleeper, these are the sounds that would be keeping you up tonight, since the Temple of Pan and the Temple of Karen are right next to each other, both up against the southern wall in a very low-rent part of town. Weatherin, you're closer to the silent meditating acolytes. You're in a tiny room in the Temple of Oberon, reserved for visiting priests and scholars. This temple is almost the westernmost building in town and is of great importance. You would have had a front row seat to the spectacular sunset. Tashash, you've been on the road for a long time, so you've become very habituated to elven inns. You even negotiated a good price with the innkeeper at the place you're staying, which, if the other lizard folk could see you, they would consider a marvelous sociological feat, innkeepers being pretty well incomprehensible to most lizard people. And Malmer, I don't know what dire, filthy hovel your current impecunious state has you staying in, but I suppose you slink back there when night falls to trance, prepare yourself for the long journey that'll begin in the morning. I'm going to stop, and if anybody has errands or things that they want to do before night falls or when during the night or anything like that, this is the time. Morning has not come yet.
Watherin, not able to sleep well because of his, not anxiety, but readiness and eagerness, arrives at the docks more than an hour early.
Okay.
Probably pre-dawn.
Okay. Good to know.
So, Robert, if you've got an external mic, you might want to check your settings and make sure that your inputs are set for that software-wise, because it sounds like you're coming in through a built-in microphone. But whatever. Anyway.
Thanks. Good note. We want to hear Sir Robert's lustrous vocal cords.
His rich, dulcet tones.
His rich, dulcet tones.
Too much. This isn't an ASMR channel.
Hello, I'm Ira Glass, and you're listening to NPR.
Okay, Dwight, you're going to say something.
Panics when he wakes up and he realizes that he doesn't have anything to drink with the screws. So he goes out and he tries to spend all of his money, which is only 15 gold, to buy some stores of, like naval drinking provisions for the future to supplement what he assumes he will get as a passenger, not a passenger, a crew member. Mm-hmm. But, you got to have your own stash. I'm not sure if there's anything that I don't even know what the world is like. Fennetir does, but Dwight doesn't.
Right. Fennetir would know to expect that sailors can expect a ration of grog aboard a sailing ship. But Fennetir probably doesn't consider that ration to be very sufficient. And also, Fennetir would be at least somewhat knowledgeable that the role of a cleric on board one of these ships has a strong social component, and that having a little bit of extra social lubricant available can only help.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that you are successful in that, and you have a pretty good supply. The luggage that your footlocker contains a number of clanking, glass-sounding, suspiciously corked objects.
Nice.
With triple X.
I hope one of them has a snake in it, like a liquor with like a preserved snake.
Yep,
I'm just
yep.
picturing that. I don't know if that happens, but
Let's make it a flying snake so it's more fantasy adventure.
Mhm. How dare you? How dare you?
It's an inside
Flying
joke.
snakes are
Podcast
sentient,
that
have souls and feelings.
Nobody will ever get that joke unless we release Overleaf Adventures to the public.
Touche.
Who
Sorry.
knows
Yeah.
whether that's going to happen?
How's my audio
Go
now?
on.
Much better.
Okay, great.
I think Mal is also probably going to take what little money he's got left and invest it in a number of items that will prove to be useful in winning friends and influencing people. Maybe a bawdy or ribaldly decorated set of playing cards, some beef jerky that will last, a little bit of booze, sorts of vice items. So I'll write those 3 things down. Unless you want to make me roll for buying things.
No. This is perfect. Definitely, it's great to get an idea of what each of the characters supplies themselves with. This is a port town. You're definitely able to find those things. It's not hard at all. You do not have to roll for it.
Okay.
So, it's morning. Unless anybody has any objections. Sunrise is not nearly as impressive as sunset.
I want to go kill a man.
Wow. Dwight, I can't believe you would say that. Sorry, go ahead.
Compared to the pyrotechnics that you would have seen last night for sunset, sunrise is nothing. It's just like gets a little brighter, then the sun comes up. Blah. You all wake up, each of them in your separate lodgings. I suppose Weatherin wakes up first, makes his way to the docks. Is anybody else getting up like really, truly, disgustingly early?
Tashash would probably show up early.
Okay, but not like you were supposed to get there at dawn.
Yeah.
Are you getting there like a good deal before dawn?
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
But-
roll initiative against Weatherin to see who gets there first.
I'll give him advantage. I'm not like
You're not stressing about it, whereas he
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. 16.
15.
So when you get there, Tashash, Weatherin is already there. I think that the gangplank is down, and you're able to go on board if you want.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you were probably already on board. You know your way around a ship already, so you've probably made yourself at home. Nobody else is. I mean, there are a couple sailors who are sleeping there, and I think probably one of the mates, let's call it Kyoko, is there. But otherwise, it's just you. Tashash, your
Tashash.
character. Oh, go on.
Go on. No,
you are
go
not
ahead.
very familiar with this kind of vessel.
No,
so I was
Tashash
going
is gonna wait for Malner. He's not gonna board.
Okay.
He, waits for Malner to show up.
Cool. Who gets there next?
Probably Mal. Mal probably gets there before the priest of Pan. Mal is, punctual and reliable. So he shows up, claps
Doesn't
Tashash on the shoulder and says, "You ready for your first time off land, my man?"
Yes.
Excellent. Let's see if lizards have as strong stomachs at sea as they do under legendarily being capable of drinking poison and such. Come on. And he bounds up the gangplank.
Tashash nods and follows Mal up the gangplank.
Awesome. So I didn't. Priest of Pan, were you going to interject something?
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't get there late, but I'm
Right.
definitely the last.
Running.
Like, there's other people that get there between me and Mal and
Running through the streets with his pants around his ankles, trying to pull them up as he
No,
sprints towards the
my
ship,
friend.
pulling out of the dock.
hold on. That's not the kind of fun Pawn has.
Okay. Great. So I did not give you guys much of a picture of the Fujin last episode. So as Tashash, since he's never seen this before, I'm going to kind of burden the narrative with some exposition when Tashash first sees and gets a chance to really like look over how the Fujin is built. The others of you are familiar with ships of this kind, but to Shash, it looks very strange. The Fujin is about 80 feet long, about 30 feet wide. Picture in your minds a Spanish galleon, but shorter and wider. The Spanish galleon imagery is for those of us who are not familiar with technical sailing terms. Just, Peter Pan ship, think Armada, but much shorter, much wider. Ships of the Cloudy Sea are built in an ingenious way that utilizes the bones of certain strange creatures. If you looked closely, you could trace the outlines of spinal columns, ribs, jawbones, running cleverly between and through the wood planks. And the planks themselves are unlike other vessels. Instead of being cut into straight rectangles, these boards are fitted together like a jigsaw puzzle, so that much of the wood retains its natural shape. Interestingly, to you, Tashash, it does not seem incredibly watertight. I would prefer, as narrator, not to be expected to attempt the kind of nautical terminology that would confuse 90% of our listeners and get the other 10% mad at me when I get it wrong. But here's some sort of such attempt for those of you who have read those Patrick O'Brian novels. Dwight.
I won't get mad at you.
The Fujin is like a small modified carrack. It has 3 masts. Foremast and mainmast are square rigged. Mizzenmast is lateen rigged. There's no forecastle, but there is an aft castle which houses a dining room on the starboard side and captain's quarters on the port side, and on top of which is a quarterdeck accessible by both port and starboard stairs. That's where the steering wheel is, which probably has a nautical name I didn't look up. Hanging 2 on either side of the main deck are 4 boats. These have not got oars, but rather they've got a bicycle-like geared contraption which powers a large fan at the rear. If you go down into the hold, Tashash, which is where you'll be expected to stash your things, there are stairs between the foremast and the mainmast which lead down there, and where there are cabins in the stern for 3 mates, the cleric and the cook. Lots of strapped down barrels of supplies, bottles of things, hammocks, sailors' trunks. In the bow is the privy, which is a separate room with a hole in the floor.
And a built-in bidet if the waters are choppy.
Yes, indeed.
No, though, right?
Except, Tashash might not know that. So you guys are aboard, and you're fairly early, and you are sort of exploring when you see Captain Satchyama, who hired you originally, who grabs you and takes you up onto the deck and brings you to Sarah, who is the second mate. Sarah is a tall elf lady with short white hair. She has a pipe in her mouth. And Captain Satch introduces you to her. He says, "My new sailors, hello." And he's got you, Weatherin, and Tashash, and Mal as well, the 3 of you.
I have a quick question, actually for Josh. What has just, general, like, briefly and generally, what has Malmer? How did Malmer convince Tashash that he had a plan to get him to the island?
You don't remember the flow charts that I held up with all the icons and stuff? And there was like a picture of the cook scratching his head.
Dave
and then there was
does not remember this flow
Oh,
chart.
okay.
He
Yeah.
never
So
saw it.
I told you at the end of the day, we rolled for it. But
Yes,
what that
and
roll
you-
represented.
You got a 20 and I got a 1.
Yeah. And what
So-
that role represented was Mal
Yeah.
basically explaining to Shosh that while they are out on the sea, there are a limited number of currents that they can take, a limited number of routes that they can follow. And he has several ideas about how to beg, bribe, steal, coerce, manipulate the ship's way to Nebulaster's perch. But at the end of the day, he doesn't know what the conditions are going to be and which one of these multiple plans he's going to have to use. But he basically explains to Tashash that if Tashash keeps, saying, when are we going to get there? When are we going? That if the moment things look at all fishy or odd, that they have to go to Nebulaster's perch, it's going to be a dead giveaway that they're going to suspect him and he's going to put the mission in danger. So he's basically saying, look, you gotta trust me. This is what they paid me for. Your elders knew what they were doing, that kind of stuff.
He tells you what walking a plank is.
Say what?
You tell Tashash, you explain to him what walking a plank means.
Yes. Yeah. And how at sea, there's no such thing as a trial by elders.
Yeah.
Captain, once you're done, you're done. So, discretion. He tries to impress discretion upon Tashash as one of the key elements to the successful plan of getting to Nebulaster's perch.
Well, I have to say, Weatherin, your spear throwing, the harpoon work yesterday was very impressive. You three, you're new. You don't have much of a work history on board vessels of this kind, as far as I'm aware, although I suppose you have worked at sea before, and your very convincing applications have secured your place on this vessel. But I'm going to assign the three of you all together to our second mate, Sarah. She's very trustworthy, and do everything that she says, and you'll be all right. She'll take good care of you. And then he goes off to do some other stuff, and you are left with Sarah. And she says to you, all right, what are you three?
Well, I've been a harpoonist. I've been a sailor on deck. I've worked on a Kraken vessel before, and I've also worked in other various mercantile functions at sea.
Sounds good. You're not the harpooner, though. This one is. How about you?
I'm a servant of Oberon, in his duty now. I'm here to harpoon on this vessel for you, of course. I should also let you know I am a trained navigator and have much experience at sea and can help in a lot of different ways.
I'm starting to get a very distinct impression of your characters. You, the lizard man.
Yes, I am a lizard.
Name?
My name. He pauses. You should call me Gravy.
It's most interesting. Now listen, they gave you three to me because nobody knows who you are. You might be idiots. And I'm the one who minds the least when idiot sailors around me die. Gratu, she calls to the orc, who is coiling some ropes or doing some other job nearby. Gratu, do you remember Ari? Gratu says, Ari? Yeah. Tied the bowline wrong and went overboard. We never saw him again. Yes, Ari was a turd. Don't be a turd like Ari, and we'll be fine. Also, you help me kill krakens, and we'll be fine. Our boat is that one over there, and she gestures to one of the 4 boats, the one
With the fan.
with the fan in the front right. And she goes over, picks up a bucket and some brushes, hands you this bucket, sticks the brushes in your hands, and says, stow your stuff in the hold if you haven't already. Mark your stuff with your name if you can read, that is. And come back up here and repaint our boat's hull.
Watherin has
Tashash goes to it immediately.
Aye, aye. And he gives some sort of standard elven salute.
Watherin was already there and has his stuff all stowed away and arranged how he wants it. Grabs the paint and says, "It'll be done.
The ink is already dry where he's written his name on his cubby.
It's carved."
His car.
Now, I do want to tell you guys something about the hold of this vessel, because I don't think I have all of you. Josh, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, good, great. I do want to tell you guys something about the hold of this vessel because it's very different from other vessels that Tashash has been in. The rest of you are used to this, but Tashash, when you go down the stairs into the hold, you find that halfway down they become a ladder. And you also find that you appear to be weightless in the hold. You have to make your way by handles that are on the ceiling and on the walls and on the floor, and various straps and ropes that are stretched across in a system that the sailors understand quite well. But while you're in the hold, for the most part, unless you're at the very edges, like for instance in the privy, would not be very useful without weight. The field that renders you weightless in the hold does not extend all the way to the privy. And the edges of some of the cabins have weight too, so that the mates can push their bed up against the back wall and be able to lay down on like a mattress. But mostly the sailors are in these fancy hammocks. They're sort of strapped in when they sleep. Everything is strapped down, and everything is just sort of floating.
Now, as a reader of Patrick O'Brian novels, I'm offended.
You're offended that I've incorporated portions of Apollo 13 into this narrative?
As
Yeah,
a
I'm
non-reader of Patrick O'Brian novels, I also am offended.
As someone who likes being offended, I'm offended.
This is great. I love it. So you guys, any problems with this chore? It's a boat. You've got to paint the hull. They're all painted black. You've got to put a fresh paint of black on yours.
Yeah, Mal feels the same way that the clown felt at his second rodeo, and that it wasn't his first rodeo. And so he just kind of gets on with it.
This has been Watherin's whole life.
Paladins do a lot of painting.
We keep things pristine and preserved.
That's true. That's true. We assign him all the edges. Make him do all the detail work.
All the
Excellent.
just to say, all the brush strokes that Watherin does go in the same direction or along the curves of the wood. Just saying. All right, I'm ready.
Tashash, you notice something when you're handling this vessel. The other guys do this very easily, but you can lift. I mean, this boat looks like it's a fairly large-sized rowboat, but one person can lift it easily. It weighs like 50 pounds. Like you can pick it up like it's a heavy backpack, and it's a 8-foot-long boat. Something about this is very strangely constructed. Yeah, you notice that.
Interesting. Tashash continues to paint.
Okay. Fennetir, Captain Satch approaches you. This is yeah.
One of the people we already met.
Yep. Captain Satch is the rotund, bearded elf who hired you.
I like him.
He's
Hi,
very
Stan.
jolly. He finds you and he says, "Oh, hello, wonderful. I'm so glad we were able to find a priest. We're not always able to convince them to come on these voyages. It's hit or miss with the very. I think it seems like there are a lot of priests in three ways, a lot of gods around three ways, but it's difficult to get them to leave three ways. I'm not sure what it is. We pay very well, I think. But come with me, and he leads you down into the hold, and you float. He pulls himself along until you get to the back.
This is delightful.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoy it. You get to the back. Let's see, port side, which is the left of the vessel when you're facing forward. But when you come down the stairs and head towards the back, it's on your right.
Yeah.
And this is the
Head aft is what you would say.
yeah head aft. The furthest door on the right is yours. So Captain Satch opens the door, and this is a small room. It is 5 feet by 10 feet. It's within the anti-grav zone, which is not really anti-gravity. It's a different effect entirely, but it's within the
Weightless. Let's call it
It's within-
weightless.
it's weightlessness. So you don't have the nice bed that you can actually lie down on. You have the weird sailor's
Correct.
hammock with the straps and stuff. But it is, as Captain Satch explains, you are one of 6 people on board the vessel who have a door that they can shut. So
Right.
you're very privileged. And he says, your duties aboard this vessel are not going to be strenuous. Magic-wise, you'll know when you're needed. Healing, maybe a little light fighting sometimes. But other than that, no chores really on a day-to-day basis. But there's, we do need you to do this one thing. Captain Gorio, he's a very driven man. And since his last voyage, well, he hasn't really been himself. Who am I kidding? It's always been a little stressful to work with Captain Gorio. His attitude can sometimes be demoralizing for the crew. And we just need you to sort of be there to remoralize them, if you know what I mean by that. I'd be a friend.
I think I know what you mean.
Good cop, bad cop. Have you heard this expression?
Good constable, bad constable.
I'm afraid you've no real authority, but if the ship's cleric comes and asks the captain for a little leniency for a sailor or an extra ration or two of grog, well, a good captain knows to pay attention to that sort of thing, as long as it's not abused. And Gorio is, after all, a very good captain.
Are we going to get to meet Gorio?
Oh, well, no, I'm afraid not at this stage. He has not yet made his public appearance. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I don't do a lot of worrying.
That's going to be a great asset on this voyage, I think. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased. And he sort of claps you on the shoulder and says, "Well, I'll leave you to get settled. I've got many things to attend to. We're stocking the vessel up to the gills with everything that you'll need for this voyage. It's very exciting, a new voyage, and making so much money. It's a wonderful thing." And he goes off, pulling himself along. Oh, you ask him how much money?
No. I just say I like money.
Oh, good. Yeah, so the camera sort of lifts up looking down at the vessel, and we see See the sailors working steadily, busily. We see Fennetir in a cool cross section of the ship, settling himself in and sort of arranging things to his liking in his room. We see the three of you getting to know some of the other sailors. You're not going to be the only three in the boat. There are going to be some red shirts with you. Yeah, a little time goes by. Some stuff happens. There are other chores that you have to do after the boat painting. Anything that you try and get done, or anything spectacular that happens during this sort of chore montage?
Chores.
I think Mal probably looks around and sees that Watherin and Tashash are doing the work of 3 or 4 men, and probably a couple of times sits back and picks his fingers with his dagger and starts kind of syrup, pretending to doing some stuff, but taking it at a fairly easy pace, and starts looking around and trying to get a lay of the land, trying to start memorizing people's names as he hears them being called out. Starts trying to build a roster of the sailors on the ship in his head.
And Watherin, somewhat discreetly, he's got some charisma and intelligence, and he knows what he's doing, but he's somewhat discreetly, when he sees shoddy workmanship on something he thinks was important, goes and corrects it. Of anybody.
Nice. Wonderful. Okay. So getting along up till, it's not noon yet, maybe 11 a.m., 11:30, getting towards lunchtime. You hear a commotion outside on the dock. And Fennetir, you hear this too. Somebody's yelling.
Pop
Mal.
up.
Go ahead.
I'd come outside, put my eyes on it.
Okay. You see a wild-haired, white-bearded old elf man in a white robe, and he's at the dock and he's shouting, "Death! Death! It is a ship of death! 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 Death!"
I think Mal is hanging off the riggings, and he looks over at Tashash and he says, "He's not wrong." Go ahead.
Tashash looks up and nods and continues doing his chores.
So yeah, let's get a look at where all of you are. Mal, you're up in the rigging, maybe fixing some ropes that somebody pointed at and was like, "Hey, somebody go fix that."
Mm-hmm.
Tashash.
I don't know what's Tashash supposed to be doing.
No.
Tashash is hanging over the side of the
Scrubbing the
boat,
deck.
scrubbing the sides or
Okay.
something.
Scrubbing the side of the boat.
Yeah, on the opposite side of the. He's not dock side. He's on the back side.
I'll bet
So-
you there's an entire class of parasites and vines and stuff that grow on the side that with your claws you can just snatch them right off easily, effortlessly.
Very
Very
good.
well
Very good.
suited to this job. He does it with great efficiency and precision.
Every
But you're
now and
on
then he's
the-
like,
Yeah, and he eats some of them.
Pumbaa style.
They're really tasty. You guys, the rest of the sailors don't know what they're missing.
it's a neurotoxin for us. For you, it's like spicy.
Lunch.
Right.
Extra ration.
But you're
Josh
on-
may volunteer for this in the future.
You have the body of the ship in between you and this commotion.
Yep.
Are you going to come up and look at it?
Nope.
Okay.
Watherin
Got a
is.
job to do.
He's doing something like polishing things on the deck, like making sure it looks great, to the best of his ability and discernment. and he definitely would be hear somebody shouting about death and stuff. He definitely is interested to make sure nothing unholy is going on.
To the extreme contrary, you recognize Watherin. This person is wearing the garb of a priest of Palor, and a very senior one at that, which is also his aged, wrinkled appearance gives credence to that seniority, saying, "Death, death! All who board that ship and sail in her," and he reaches out like a crooked finger to point at the Fujin directly. "All who sail in her shall die and be dead, for it is a ship of death, so saith Palor, and let no creature, even a god, contradict his words. Death! The word in that ship is death." Hearing this, you guys can make a religion check, but you don't really need to.
Nice.
Oh, 16.
19.
I need a reminder of who Palor is. So Robert needs a reminder of Palor.
Sun god.
Yeah, Palor is like the very workmanlike, middle-class god, sort of part of the official pantheon with your god Oberon, but middle class rather than upper class.
Okay.
He's the Ned Flanders god of do-gooders and do-goodery.
Yeah,
I think Mal, go ahead. You were going to say something else that happens?
yeah. Those of you who rolled a religion check above like 10 have a slightly different experience of this, but all of you, even Tashash, who is on the far side of the boat, of the ship, as it were, you know with certainty that the god Palor is present. And those of you who got like a 16 or a 19 or whatever on that check, you actually sort of can see signs of him. You can see like a face or some symbol
Yeah, that
of
gets
his.
to
or like,
Tashash comes up from the side of the boat. And
There's like
climbs onto the deck.
a special Palor sunbeam that like hits right on this guy as he's speaking this dark omen over your vessel that just pinpoints him that this is very much the work of Palor. Now I want each of you to roll a d4.
That's the pyramid looking one.
4.
I got a 3.
Okay.
4.
I got a 4.
Let's go in order. Weatherin,
Yeah,
you rolled a 4.
I did.
When you hear these words, they strike you so hard that you literally faint. You pass out and fall to the deck of the ship.
That didn't
I
happen
suppose in your
now.
dream, you're going to sort of be in a temple, I guess, but you don't know this temple. It's a temple of Oberon, and you feel and see even some of the presence of Palor here as well. Earlier, we discussed your character's attitude towards this dark fate. How does Weatherin react when he hears that the vessel is doomed for death?
Watherin believes it utterly. He's not it's not important to him, but that is, yep, okay, fine then. Paylor says it. And in particular, that's okay with him because of what he needs to do and where he needs to go in life. And so, fine. If that's what's going to happen, let's go there. Let's go to death.
In this temple, faced with maybe an old man in a white robe who has the golden beard and hair of Paylor, what do you do? What does this decision or this way of thinking manifest itself in any sort of act?
Is the guy there? Like
yeah.
in
your sort of fainted away vision.
Yeah. I think Watherin, because he doesn't see the guy as like giving him a curse or anything. He sees it as telling Watherin something important, and Watherin is happy to know. And he says something like, "Thank you, old man. Thank you. To die is not a big thing, but to die without achieving one's aim, it's everything." That's it.
Give yourself mark down somewhere on your character sheet or in some way, maybe like D&D Beyond has a notes field. Give yourself 4 fate points.
Okay.
Tashash, what did you roll?
I got a 3.
So that's nice because you're probably still clinging to the side of the boat, so you don't faint. But these words do strike you to the heart. You feel a chill, which for lizard people is like, I guess you're cold-blooded, so feeling a chill is worse than for us mammals. But you are very upset by hearing this.
Tashash's frill is
the frill is way out.
No, it's not out. It's vibrating though, very rapidly.
Okay.
The rest of him is kind of very still, but like coiled up and tense. And he walks across the deck and comes to stand beside Malmer. And he just sort of stands there silently for a while and watches this guy for a while.
Well, I believe
past the point where Malmer gets uncomfortable.
Malmer,
and then he says sideways to him, to Malmer.
Hold on. Malmer, you rolled a 4, right?
Yeah.
Malmer is on the deck. He's fainted, so you can't.
Oh,
I mean,
whoops.
But go on.
He was
Whoops.
up in the mast.
I was in the rigging.
Did he
Okay.
fall?
Yeah. Roll 2d6.
Okay. Great. Boxcars.
Really? Because you fall out of the rigging from 20 feet up and land on the deck when you faint and you take that much damage.
Of course I do.
But Tashash, still your turn.
I guess I see Malmer fall then.
Yeah.
After Tashash, after a moment of kind of I don't know, he sort of looks a little confused and hesitates, and then very quickly rushes over to where Malmer is and checks him out to make sure he's not dead. He's not dead, right? Good. And then I'll cast cure wounds on him. I'll use a 2nd level spell slot for that because Tashash is not going to spare any expense. So 2d8 plus 1. Okay, 1, 4, 5. 10 recovers 10.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is he? And I guess can I revive him?
No, he's out for now. Or I mean, you can revive him, but it'll be after the thing that we narrate for him while he's out.
Oh, okay.
But tell me.
Go on.
Tell me. Your character. We discussed a particular attitude towards this dark fate.
Mm-hmm.
How does Tashash feel about hearing this?
Well, he's very unsure because Mulmer is unconscious. He's very conflicted at the moment. And I don't know, maybe he should. So, well, do you want me to explain his reason?
What is he thinking?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so he very much wants to get off this boat, especially since he could sense the presence of Palor. Like, he's pretty freaked out by that because there was something really big there, a really big creature, being, thing that's really dangerous and much him. So that's got him very freaked out. But he is also, as far as he can tell, and he very much wants to confer with Mulmer on this, but as far as he can tell, this boat is the only way to get to Nebulaster's Island. So if that's the only way to get to Nebulaster's Island, he's on the boat. And he very much wants to get off the boat, though. And so he would probably want to ask Mulmer about that, except Mulmer's out cold. So he's he's trying to revive Mulmer. Is probably what he's trying to do, because Mulmer, I mean, because of the rolls from last round, he's pretty much, if Mulmer tells him this is the only way to get there, then he's on board with that. So
okay, so you've also reacted in a fairly convincing way to those thoughts. Mark down 3 fate points on your character sheet or somewhere. Fennetir,
Hi there.
what did you roll?
I rolled a 4.
You also are struck so hard by this dire pronouncement that you two faint dead away onto the deck. Thump. And you...
all these fainting people.
Yeah, and Tashash, as you look around, there are some of the sailors who are not player characters who are also fainting at this. It's you guys are not the only ones. But Fennetir, in your faint,
nervous.
You feel sort of a you find yourself in kind of a wooded setting, which is, most of your dreams actually, like most of your dreams are in the woods.
Party that happened in the woods just the other day.
Yeah. We discussed earlier what your character's attitude would be towards this dark fate. How do you feel when hearing this?
So I heard it. I mean, I'm passed out. You mean
Yeah.
how do I feel in the dream or
How
after
do
I
you,
wake up?
in the dream, having heard it and been convinced of it, and knowing your character's attitude,
Yes.
what are your thoughts and
firmly
feelings?
convinced. He's firmly convinced, and he's like going to look for the party because he's pretty sure he recognizes this part of the woods, and maybe he can get a little bit more of the partying in that he was sitting around the fire, hanging out with people. That's what he would look for.
Okay, yeah, you do find a party. There is a fire, nice campfire, not too big, and there are some of your buds, some of your
People
bros,
handing
some
out drinks.
yeah, they're handing around some Dixie cups or the Elven equivalent, full of
Nice.
some kind of rot gut.
Nice. I jump headlong into the party, fully in denial that anything weird is going on.
All right, mark down 4 fate points somewhere on your character sheet or somewhere. Last but not least, Mal, you too, as we've depicted, you faint, come crashing down on the deck, lose consciousness. You find yourself in a faint on the deck of a ship. Hearing this news has impacted you greatly. We discussed how your character would feel about this sort of fate. Tell me about it.
I think he begins laughing and he looks around for the prophet of Oberon. Does he see the prophet of Oberon on the deck?
Yeah.
Okay. He probably walks over to the railing of the ship and begins laughing at him and says, "Old fool, every god has their own agenda. Every god wishes to make every mortal quake with fear. But I have kissed death. I know the salty taste of betrayal on her lips. I do not fear the inevitable. I have danced with death and have lain in her bosom. I will fight you. And I will find your weakness, Oberon. I will find your little schemes, and I will pick them apart."
Malmer.
This is, you don't hear this, Josh.
He probably wakes up. He starts laughing at Oberon and at Oberon's attempt to scare him. What?
Paylor.
Paylor. Sorry, at Paylor. Yeah. Hey, leave my god out of this. He starts laughing at Paylor's attempts to scare him, and he wakes up laughing with blood gurgling in his mouth, and he wakes up in Tashash's arms, and he spits onto his hands. He grabs Tashash by the cloth or belt or whatever, pulls him close, and he says, "They want to make us live in fear, but you cannot fear what you have consumed. We will be strong together." And he starts get this maniacal look in his eyes, and he starts patting Tashash on the cheek, and there's now his blood from his punctured lung on Tashash's cheek.
So I have a question, Matt.
Okay.
Up until in terms of how to weigh certain considerations, after after Malmer's very thorough excuse me, convincing of Tashash as to the validity of his plan.
You rolled a 1, so you're in there.
I rolled a 1 and Josh rolled a 20.
Yeah.
So
I think that takes precedent.
I wouldn't be asking this question if that hadn't happened. I would think, because Josh or Malmer raving like a lunatic would probably shake Tashash's confidence in him if in any other circumstance. But I rolled a 1 and he rolled a 20. So is there like maybe a contested roll that I should make against myself? I don't know how these things work.
I don't think you should make a contested roll against yourself.
No, I don't. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know how
yeah.
these things
Right.
work.
What I would say is you should role play your character. What that role was for was to convince you that Malmer really can fulfill this mission. You're completely convinced that he is capable and he has a plan to get you to Nebulaster's perch.
But now he's acting like a nutball.
Do what Tashash would do.
Well, so I'm. You understand why I'm asking? I wouldn't be asking if I hadn't rolled a 1 and he rolled a 20.
Right.
Like it was a critical miss plus a critical hit.
Yeah. So you're extremely convinced that he is competent, and that is still the case.
Well, but now he's behaving. He's doing something that
Maybe Dave.
is sorry. Yeah.
Wait,
Go on.
sorry. What's he doing?
No, I mean like he just woke up. He passed out, fell out of the rigging, and then he woke up raving like a lunatic.
Maybe the ferocity with which he's responding in conjunction with the basically seeing a God's presence has you persuaded that, man, this guy's intense. He can accomplish his mission.
Well, but he's also
Okay, so you're going off of the first few seconds of the reaction. I mean, after a few seconds of being awake, he stands up, brushes himself off, and looks at you and says, if every man allowed every wandering minstrel, bard, and prophet to shake him to the balls with his words of doom and gloom, what man would leave his home? Come. And he kind of thumps him in the chest. We make our own fate. Good to know up front it'll be uphill.
Tashash.
So you've been talking for a little while.
Light bulb. Hold on. Tashash pauses and his frill stops going to town. He's still pretty coiled up. And he looks Malmer in the eyes and says, "It will do us no good." He says this quietly and discreetly, Malmer notices. "It will do us no good if we reach Nebulaster's island when we are dead."
I agree. And dead men don't get paid.
That will accomplish nothing. Tell me, is this the only way?
For us, friend, at the moment, yes.
He bares his teeth. You are certain.
Look around.
Sorry, stream. There are some fireworks going off near me and Dave's house. That is what you're hearing right now. Probably.
I thought that my wife and child were tearing down the house with the dog. Sorry, go ahead.
While this conversation is going on, Fennetir and Watherin, you are, getting up, dusting yourselves off, pulling yourself up on some rigging. And you notice that some acolytes have taken the old man and are guiding him back towards town. And you see Captain Satch is hurrying up the gangplank and ordering the mates and the sailors to untie the ship, and they're pulling the gangplank up, and somebody's come on board with him, and he brings that person up to the steering wheel, and the Fujin begins under the direction of the pilot to make its way out of port.
Tashash watches the gangplank rise, and Malmer, you get the impression that he wishes that he might not want to be there, but once it's been fully retracted, he says, "So be it." And then he turns and goes back to doing chores.
Nice.
Though possibly not with the same attention that he was before.
I think we're going to go on break in just a few minutes, but any other things that you want to get done before we move to the next phase of this episode?
I think Mal probably starts laughing and pulls out a deck of cards and says, "Well, as long as we're all playing with our fates, who's up for a quick game?"
Fennetir?
Fennetir goes to the Orlop to see any injuries.
Yep, he's still got a couple of places where there's a little bit of he's got a fractured leg, and the punctured lung is now healed thanks to Tashash.
Does anybody show up?
I'm sorry, where did you go? Who are you waiting to show up?
I'm at the place where people go to get healed. The
where
Orlop
is
room in the ship. It's where you take 100 people.
That's wonderful. I didn't know about it. What the Fujin has is your cabin down in the hold.
Well, then I stand in front of the door to my cabin, not letting anyone in, and I will see them in the hall.
Step right.
Yeah.
Get your red hot healing.
Yeah, a couple sailors do come to you, and they're like, "Oh, man, that guy, I'm so freaked out." And they're asking you for like advice. They're asking you for like some wisdom and stuff, and also some minor healing for scrapes and bruises.
Nice. Well, guys, people are always yakking about this and that. We just need to put our heads down and look forward to the grog every day and dancing on the Castle or whatever they have up there.
All right.
Cool. And Watherin just resolves himself and gets back to work twice as hard.
Very good. Well, with that, let's go to break. How about let's be back at 9:55? Sound good?
You mean
Sounds good.
8:55?
What time is it right now?
It's 8:45.
8:46?
Oh, yeah, I mean 8:55. Sorry.
Sure.
What time zone is Providence in?
The devil's time zone.
All right.
All right, we'll be back in a flash.
We are back from our break. I hope everybody had a chance to use the potty and take care of business.
Oh, dang, I forgot.
Tough nuggies. We're in it now.
Hang on one sec. Sell. I was taking care of business. It was funny to me at the time. Sorry.
TPB.
So I want to do a quick scene, and then we're going to do something that is going to become a little bit more regular, but we're going to have sort of an introduction to it in this episode. The first thing that I want to do is you go off chore duty, and you are well, no, you know what? We can put these things together. There's no contradiction. Beautiful. So here's what happens.
Chore duty. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you are you finish up with your chores, and there's like a shift system that the mates explain to you, and there are sort of work groups, and one group is on watch while another group gets to rest, and then there are meal times, and there's a whole schedule. The ship is a well-oiled machine, and I really do not want to go into the minutia of that because it's really bad audio to explain. Like, it's as interesting as Patrick O'Brien novel. Sorry, Patrick O'Brien.
Extremely compelling.
It's extremely compelling radio content to explain how the watch schedule works aboard a whaling vessel. But what happens? It's not actually your turn on the watch, but I think that Sarah gets an idea about Tashash, and when you guys go off of work duty, and the rest of you are able to relax, by which I mean, I guess Weatherin and Mal are able to sort of relax and hang out and do what you want for a little while. Our cleric of Pond does not have to sort of ever stop relaxing. He doesn't have chore duty the way you guys do, and doesn't have
If I had chores, I wouldn't ever stop relaxing.
But exactly. So what happens is that Sarah comes up to you, Toshash, and says, "Hello. How are you finding life aboard the Fujin so far? Never mind. I don't care how you're finding life aboard the Fujin." And she puffs at her pipe a little bit, and she says, "I want you to watch underneath." And they stop. The ship has stopped, and they apparently need somebody to do this job. So she has a sailor come up, and she ties a rope to some like a metal fastener for ropes, like boats
Cleat.
have a lot of.
Cleat.
Yeah, cleat. And she assigns a sailor to watch the cleat, and another sailor to belay you.
She ties a line to a cleat.
Yeah, and she has you tie yourself to the rope, Tashash,
Line.
and she says, now we have to do this periodically. It's a little bit like sounding on a river or other sorts of practices in other kinds of vessels. But we need to get a look. We have the crow's nest to get a look at what's going on above the cloudy sea. We need somebody to get a look at what's going on below the cloudy sea, if you understand what I mean. And that someone today is you. So we're just going to lower you overboard, take a good look around you once you get down there, and tell us if you see anything interesting, like, for instance, Kraken. We are here to kill a lot of Kraken. So if you see anything that looks like a giant squid, sing out. She explains there's a way of pulling on the rope, or a particular holler that you can yell that will communicate various things to them.
There she cracks.
So,
Alternatively, "Ah!" is also an acceptable form of Kraken alert.
Let's get cracking.
Tashash is fairly agitated at the moment. Should I perhaps make a check to see if he's able to focus on this task adequately to do it?
Sure. Roll wisdom.
Wisdom save?
Nope, not a saving throw. Just a
Oh.
wisdom check.
Oh, just a wisdom check. Okay.
Roll a d20 and add your wisdom modifier to it.
11.
Sorry, say that again?
11.
Okay. Yeah, you right now the task is just to stand still and let somebody tie a rope to a harness contraption that they put on you. So you're able to keep it together for this.
Okay.
And then she says,
Great.
"All right, over the side you go."
Over the side I go.
So tell me about it. There's a mist that the boat seems to be resting on top of. You can climb with your claws down the side of the ship.
I will do that.
You reach the mist.
Yep,
The line goes taut, and the sailor who's belaying you yells down, "All right, we've got you."
I do the thing I'm supposed to do.
So you
That
push
they
off a
told
little
me
bit
to
from the side of the ship, and the sailor who's belaying you starts to slowly sort of lower you down a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And you descend into the fog, and everything goes white around you. It gets a little bit darker. I'm sorry?
Goes Dwight around you?
No, it goes white, as if
Oh,
you're in a
white.
thick fog.
I get it.
And gets a little bit darker, but not too much darker. And then your feet come into contact with something that's sort of soft. And it holds you up a little bit. You can sort of stand on it, but then it doesn't quite hold you up completely. And you sink down through it, and you feel this sort of layer of something that's firm yet soft that sort of brushes its way up your body. When it reaches your sort of head and arms area, it's close enough that even in the fog you can see that these are you're being lowered through a canopy of gigantic, broad elephant ear style leaves that are just extremely large and thick and powerful, such that you could almost stand on just the leaves, but not quite. And you do go down through them, pushing them out of the way. And as you descend further, you encounter first, your foot hits a branch, and you kind of push off to one side. The branch goes by on one side, and then another branch a little ways down. And for 5 minutes or so, you're just being lowered slowly down through in this fog. And then eventually you encounter another canopy of leaves. Your feet touch them, and then they come up through you past your face again, and you emerge under another canopy of leaves above you. And then it starts to get brighter and brighter and less foggy, and you pass down through the underneath layer of fog, and you find yourself dangling, looking down at an infinite expanse of stars, just like looking up at the night sky, except you are looking down.
That is not what Tashash expected to see. I think he gets more agitated.
Agitation!
It's a good thing that you're tied to a rope.
Or a line.
Yeah. I don't know. Should I check again to see if he can keep it together?
No, it doesn't really matter whether you keep it together, but you can make a perception check, and if you think that Tashash is sufficiently disturbed, then make it with disadvantage.
Okay, I'll do that. Disadvantage.
Because you are supposed to be looking around.
Yeah. Okay. We get. Well, doesn't look like it mattered much. I got an 8.
Okay. You see
Tashash
fog.
is kind of distracted.
There's fog above you and darkness below.
All right. I guess there was like am I supposed to signal?
After a little while, when they receive no signal from you, they just start pulling you up again.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't give a signal. Tashash is kind of, I think he's maybe a little overwhelmed. He's just sort of like, oh, it's big. Oh, there's a lot of it. Why are
And
there
on the way
stars
back up,
below, just like there are in the sky? He's never seen anything like this. This is pretty new to him. So he's just sort of like, oh dear. Except he's looking down, not up.
right? Yeah, this is
Yep.
world altering.
Yeah, this is very new. Never seen this before.
Yeah. On the way back up, in the semi darkness of the forest of double sided trees, which hang together and make up what they call the Cloudy Sea. On your way back up through it, you're able to hear and sense a little bit more of what's going on in there, and you hear different animals moving around among the branches. You can hear the trees creaking as the branches brush against each other and move slightly. You can hear even a little bit of bird song. There's in some of these places there are some birds twittering. It seems that at quite a distance from you, they're not very loud by any means, but just you start to get the sense that this is not an environment, a cold, dead environment, but there is some form of life taking place here as you pass up through it. And then your head pops up from the canopy, and then you emerge from out of the mist, and they haul you back up on deck.
Hey, is he Kraken?
I didn't
Hey,
catch
hey,
that.
Gravy.
What?
You see any Kraken?
Wait. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Oh, is this Dwight talking or?
I think that this is Fennetir talking to Tashash.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I missed something in the
problem.
middle of there. Okay. Yeah.
You said to call you Gravy.
Wait, so are we? I'm sorry, guys. I just got.
Tashash, Gravy, you get pulled up over the handrail,
Right.
and they start taking the harness off of you. You look up and you see Fennetir standing above you, as well as your boss, Sarah, and she's got her arms folded, and she says, I thought so. He's shocked almost to death. He had no idea, I think. And Fennetir says, "Haha, did you see any Kraken down there?"
Tashash is not paying them a whole lot of attention. He's just kind of standing there like bug-eyed. He stamps, he stamps his feet on the deck a couple times like he's checking to make sure it's still there. That's very solid. Yeah, doesn't respond.
If you need a volunteer to go down and do that next time, I'd be glad to join that brigade.
Sure.
It is like it is above, below. It is below as it is. That is not normal.
All right. So this might
Stamps his
turn
feet again. Makes sure the boat is still there.
All right. So the thing that is going to be a little bit more codified in later episodes is that we're going to have watch, and some of you are going to either be lowered down or to go up into the crow's nest and look for things. And you're going to be rolling perception checks to see if you see anything, and then we're going to be rolling on a big table of different things you might encounter to see what you might encounter. But for now, we're just going to give you one of those for free without having to do a perception check or work for it at all. But I don't know if we're going to finish it before the end of the episode. So don't be worried if there's a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of this one. We'll pick it right back up, episode 3. Somebody for me, roll a D10.
I'm happy to do that. I have a D10 before me.
I rolled a 9.
I rolled a 6.
Oh, this is a nice one. This is one of the nice ones that I put in there. Not a
Thanks.
nasty one, but a nice one.
1 out of 10 is nice.
So you're
Roll-
sailing along. And somebody from the crow's nest shouts out, Dwight, what do you think they would shout in a Patrick O'Brien novel if they saw another ship? Ship
Well, Patrick
ho!
O'Brien is not a big fan of. Another ship.
Yeah.
They'd say like, I don't know the start. I'm not
They'd say-
that
they-
good at knowing these things.
Cool. They say whatever
They
it is
say
they
where
say.
it was, like 2 points off the starboard bow or something.
Right. So they
Ship.
see,
Ahoy, maybe? I don't know.
you see sails. Somebody sees sails from the crow's nest, and the ship changes bearing to start going towards the sails. As they slowly draw closer to you, you can see that it is very much like another vessel that is a lot like the Fujin. It's the same sort of layout. There are boats off the side, 3 masts, and some of the more experienced sailors do recognize this as a fellow kraken hunting vessel. And so you draw alongside this other vessel, and let's see. Yeah. So the what happens is that the pilot and Captain
Goryo.
not
Goryo.
Captain Goryo, but the other captain.
Oh.
I'm supposed to know these things because I'm the DM. And I said this name a zillion times already. Here we go. Captain Satch. Captain Satch and the pilot are still on board. They haven't made their way back. You're not really that far out. And so Captain Satch says, "Oh, wonderful. Another vessel. I think I know the captain of this ship." And they draw up close, and the ships are right up next to each other, and they're talking. And some of the sailors start shouting across to each other. I think I would like... No, you know what? I'll just roll for it. Bum, ba, bum, ba-da-ba-bum. So that is that's going to be Weatherin. So Weatherin, one of your old shipmates from years ago is on this other vessel.
Okay.
And they call across to you, and they start yelling. They're like, "Hey, Weatherin, what's up, man? It's been a while."
Hey, Wilmette, what are you
Weather-
doing here?
Oh, just hunting kraken. Lots of kraken.
We haven't seen any yet, but we've just started out.
Oh, good, very good. And so you talk for a while, and it seems that this ship is bearing news that they found the most amount of kraken that they could up in the northwest, pretty close to the Ragged Edge. But actually, Josh, your character,
Mal.
who's called Mal. I'm blanking on the names all of a sudden.
It's okay.
Mal is quite pleased because the news from this vessel that there are kraken up by the Ragged Edge is actually very close to the place where you want to go, the Cloud Giant's Perch. And I have to look something up real quick.
What's his name? Aurora
Nebulaster.
Nebulaster. I knew it was some sort of astronomical thing with another astronomical thing attached to the end.
You're thinking of Geminitron, the Gemini giant.
I was thinking of Nebula and Aster, which are both
I was close.
What is Aster?
between star.
Oh, Aster. Yeah.
Just got to roll something up real quick here.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Ooh, that sounded like a good roll.
It was.
Hang on.
Natural.
Guys, we're rich.
2. Let's see. Oh boy. Okay. So
Sounds good.
your friend says to you, "Hey, I found this really cool thing out when in the middle of nowhere. It's the craziest thing. I found this awesome sort of piece of treasure, but it's really useful, but I don't think I'm going to have any use for it out here. Since I'm going home, and I really would like it to get some good use out on the sea." So he hands over to you, Weather, and he hands you a wondrous item called the Horn of Silent Alarm. You may put that in your inventory.
Okay.
This horn has 4 charges. When you use an action to blow it, one creature of your choice can hear the horn's blare, provided the creature is within 600 feet of the horn and not deafened. No other creature hears sound coming from the horn. The horn regains 1d4 expended charges daily at dawn. So you can send silent alarms to people
Great.
with your Horn of Silent Alarm.
To a single person at a time.
One creature of your choice.
Okay.
And it takes an action to blow it.
Okay. Great.
Well, very good. That was a nice little bonus encounter to kick things off with. You guys are pretty lucky. That was a 1 in 10 chance of not having to fight anybody or quiz anybody about stuff and just getting free magic items. So
Do that again.
what's going to happen? What happens next is that Captain Satch and the pilot get on the boat that they brought with them, and they head back. It's actually like it's been tied to the side of the Fujin since you left. It's actually not really one of these fan boats, but it's more of a sailboat. It's like a sunfish or a small sailing boat, and they start taking that back to port, and at that point, Barkus, who is the first mate, sort of comes out on the deck. He's a sort of a stocky, strong, muscular elf fellow with a completely bald head, frown on his face. And says, Captain Gorio is aboard. Don't worry. He's still recovering from his last voyage, but he'll be with us very soon. He's almost ready. But for now, we're got some good news from the vessel that we just spoke with. We'll be heading to the northwest towards the Kraken that they told us about. So I'm looking forward to some good hunting. I expect this vessel to be completely ship-shape and for everybody to be at high alert and ready to go. And then he goes about his business. You guys,
Barkis.
Barkis?
Yes. Okay.
And so you go on for, I don't know, well, actually tell me what you guys get up to over the next, say, period of hours to several days. Like, what are your any escapades, anybody you want to talk to, anything you want to get done? You start to get into the rhythm of life aboard the Fujin a little bit.
Well, Tashash might need some reassurance from Malmer. If not for if not because of doubts about getting to Nebulaster's Island, then certainly for discovering that the sky is under their feet.
I think
So what does he
Mal probably tries to give Tashash some tough love. You know, are you a warrior or not? Kind of look deep within yourself, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, man. You know, have some self-respect, kind of tough love. Tries to provoke Tashash into getting a belly full of bile to rise to the occasion.
Nope, totally. Tashash only gets more agitated.
I think Malmer might resort to actual booze and gambling, and he tries to see if he can get Tashash to play cards with him. Come on, there's nothing like a good game of chance to take your mind off of it. Just gamble everything you've got, and you'll be afraid of losing every worldly possession instead of your life.
I do not see how this would help.
Nobody sees it in the moment, but come on. He pulls out a deck of cards and pulls over a couple of other sailors and starts trying to get everybody to lighten the mood by dealing out a hand of cards and starting to play.
All right, Tashash gets in. He does a very poor. The things that he bets are kind of random though, so they might be just like
A button,
yeah,
a buckle, random
Some
buckle
trap.
that he found somewhere.
yeah,
Tail of a rat.
yeah. Bets. Oh, he bet bets animal parts.
Yeah, I think Mal would actually be pretty interested in winning one of those T-Rex teeth on his
No,
his pauldron.
He won't bet those, but he'll bet some of the barnacles he scraped off the side of the boat and was saving for later. Actually, though, he probably thinks those are pretty valuable, so he'll put those in.
Mal's a good sport. Mal lets him bet whatever he wants.
One of the sailors comes by and says, "I'm sorry, Dwayne."
What about the other people at the table? They're good sports too.
I
They're
think Mal picks some sort of game where the pot is built up by every player at the table. It's just your choice as to whether or not you want to play each round. And Mal always sweetens the pot for Tashash each round just to keep people playing.
one of the sailors walking by sees Tashash sort of looking over his shoulder and like kind of shivering a little bit and acting like he's not having a jolly time playing cards with some buds.
His frill's going to town.
His frill is
Every
like
once in a while, he gets a really good twitch.
his frill is twitching, and nobody here really knows what that means. Like
He's pretty
socially,
he also looks like he's trying very hard to focus on the game.
but like just seeing an animal or any kind of creature that's moving the way Tashash is moving right now, you'd tell that it's pretty agitated. And the sailor says, "Hey man, there's a. I was just talking to the ship's cleric. He's got a room downstairs. It's pretty cool. He's a nice guy. You seem like you're pretty skeezed out. You should go talk to him. Like he's pretty good. Made me feel better."
Tashash looks up at him intently and says, "Can he fix the sky?"
Whoa, heavy dude. No.
Tashash goes
And the
back to
sailor
the game.
sort of walks away.
Tashash goes back to the game and just
Doesn't even
sticks a
give
fist in his pouch and just big fistful of barnacles on the table. What is the word, Malmer? I meet, I fix.
Raise.
I raise.
Sure you do, buddy. Sure you do.
Great.
All right. So this goes on for a
And,
little while.
During this time, Watherin is young. I mean, for an elf. But he's a good kid. He's like, really earnest, good kid, little sheltered, and he's very charismatic. He's quite charismatic. And so people like him, even though he's, a little intense when he gets on some jag about what he's interested in. But basically, he just goes and he's helpful and he's chatty and he talks with people and they like him. And he's just making friends and a little bit of, every so often he gets on a soapbox. If he finds somebody who'll sit and talk to him for a good 20 minutes to 6 hours.
I know somebody who used to be like that.
I met somebody once.
Probably still is. Well, you find yourself talking with this harpooner who's happens to be an Aarakocra, Kalurk. And Kalurk, you find is a really pretty interesting fellow. He's been all over the world. He's seen lots of things. The Aarakocra, they do kind of keep to their own, but also they can fly. So he's seen a lot of places that you've only heard about. Do you have any questions?
Sorry, Aarakocra. I don't know that.
Oh, they're like people with bird wings.
Okay.
And
Humanoid.
a bird head.
Say it again.
And a bird head.
Yeah, bird heads, bird wings, basically like anthropomorphic birds.
Yeah. Hey, have you flown around this sea much?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is the Aarakocra homeland. Actually, we Air Mountain, southwest.
So, let me ask you a question. I'm actually out here for the Kraken, but I've got some other, interests in this area. I'm looking for, if there's any kinds of temples or ruins of temples out here?
There aren't really, no buildings like you would build on the ground. There's not such a thing, except in Air Mountain, which is a mountain. But we have sort of a temple there.
It's one of your people's temples?
Yeah, well, sort of a temple / castle.
Okay. In my back home in my order, there's this legend we have about this really great guy who I think he came out to this area a long time ago, thousands of years ago, and I'm just looking to see if I can find any traces of him. If there's any elven stuff out here?
Elven?
Besides the
No.
boats?
No, the elves don't come out here except to hunt the Kraken, and how very rarely. But I think that if you're interested in history, the history of the Cloudy Sea,
Absolutely.
really the only place to go is to talk to Queen Bird in the Air Mountain.
Do you think we're going to head that way?
These Kraken hunting vessels often do. I can't make any guarantees, but obviously, Captain Gorio is going to go where he will.
Sure.
But there's a definite likelihood. I would say maybe 1 out of every 2 voyages.
Okay.
We end up there somehow.
Hey, if we could get there, would you be willing to introduce me to some people so I could try to find out some of that history, some of that lore? And if there's anything you need while we're on the ship, you just let me know.
Oh, obviously, yes, of course. We'll hit the town. I'll introduce you to anybody you need.
That'd be great. Thanks, Kohler.
So, about this time, or unless anybody else has things that they're hoping to do during a little bit of downtime here.
Not at the moment.
Tashash loses all of his barnacles. He has no idea what he's doing.
You're out of barnacles, Tashash. Put it on your
barnacles.
That night, when he goes to bed, he sees in a lovely little gift wrapped box all of his barnacles.
Oh, this makes him feel a little better.
You fix this guy.
He probably would have. he was before finding them. He was getting ready to volunteer for another job along cleaning the side of the boat.
Very good. Yeah, so night does fall, and everybody goes to sleep,
Except for those on watch.
except for those who are on watch. Yeah, there's definitely an overnight crew. That's not you guys this time. But yeah, in the morning, after breakfast, after first meal of the day, there's a bell. Ding! They use bells so that everybody can. They've got some prearranged signals on the bells, and everybody is called out onto the deck. And in a scene that many of you will recognize from literature, Captain Gorio emerges for the first time from the captain's cabin. And I really don't want to give him a peg leg. He doesn't have a peg leg, but imagine a character who might look like him, who might have a peg leg. But he strides out on two able feet, and he's a commanding.
Also, two enormous hook hands. Just kidding.
Absolutely powerful presence on deck. You cannot help noticing this elf, extremely sturdily built, thick black hair and a scowl, black beard, dressed in modest yet expensive captain's clothes. And he comes out and he gets everybody's attention. And he says, I'm Captain Gorio. I'm in charge of this vessel. I don't know what you may have heard about me, may not have heard about me, but we are here to hunt kraken. And we will hunt them far off the ends of the earth. We will hunt them to Air Mountain. We'll hunt them to the Ragged Edge. Yea, we'll even hunt them deep, deep into the depths if we have to. But let me tell you that there is one kraken above all the others who we hunt. This kraken is the king of the cloudy sea, and it has done me a great wrong, and I will have my hateful revenge. And he takes out from his pocket a small, like a lump of some metal, and he goes up to the mast, and he puts it against the mast, and he hammers in some nails next to it, and then bends them over so that they enclose and hold this nugget to the mast. And while he's in there, he's sort of floating a little bit so that he has to hold onto the mast with his legs or something, because he's within the field of weightlessness that this lump of levy produces. Those of you who know about these things know that a lump of levy of this size is like 2 or 3 years' wages for a sailor. It's an incredibly valuable thing. And he gestures at it and he says, "The first sailor who sights me Enma, the silver squid, king of the cloudy sea. The first sailor that cries out, 'Kraken over there!' That sailor who sounds the alarm that the kraken is within reach of my vessel, that sailor shall have this lump of levy, a king's ransom." Not really a king's ransom, he's exaggerating. And he says, "Are ye with me, men?" And the sailors, men and ladies, both are sort of skeptical, but nobody wants to say anything. So he starts.
I shout out,
speech.
"I'm with you, and I'll forego any amount of sleep it takes to spot that squid myself."
And he looks you in the eye, and his glance fixes you like a harpoon itself. And he says, "This is the spirit. This is the spirit that I want in every sailor on board this vessel. I will bring you with me, yea, even unto the tempest itself. Off the edge of the world, we will go to find this great enemy of mine, and we will destroy it." And
Mal is
Tashash,
totally into this guy's brand. His blood is pumping. He loves this man and is 100% behind everything that this man stands for. Go ahead.
Tashash nudges, trying to be inconspicuous, whispers to Malmer,
Is this the plan?
Oh, that Kraken's gonna get us to Nebulaster. Just you watch.
Tashash straightens up and collects himself and says loudly,
I will find your Kraken too.
And Goryo says, "Very well, excellent, I love it. Gratu, Weatherin, Kulurk, come with me. Grab up the harpoons. Get the grog." And he has you unfasten the head of the harpoon from the shaft, leaving the big sturdy like metal point with barbs on it at the end of the harpoon. And he takes out a gigantic thing of extremely strong grog, and he fills in the place where the shaft fits, like that empty space with the
where the shaft fits in.
where the shaft
barrel.
fits in. He fills that with liquor. And first he offers it to Barkus, and he says, "Barkus, will you drink to the death of the silver squid?" And Barkus looks him in the eye and says, "Captain, I'd go with you anywhere. I don't know about this one, but I'll drink." And he takes it and he drinks. And the captain fills it up again, and he comes to you, Weatherin. And he says, "Weatherin, will you drink with me to the death of the silver squid?"
Weatherin takes it and says, "To that and more, to the death of us all if we need to," and drinks it.
And he takes it and he goes to Kulurk. And he says, "Kulurk, will you drink with me to the death of the silver squid?" And Kulurk, the Aarakocra, takes it and says, "I'll do anything once," and drinks it, hands it back. And then he goes likewise to the mates. He says, "Oh, wait." He goes to Gratu, the female orc, and he says, "Gratu, your hand has been strong with me these many seasons on board this ship. Tell me, will you drink with me to the death of the silver squid?" And Gratu says, "Oh yeah, I'm down." She takes it and she drinks. And then likewise to Sarah, the second mate, who is in charge of you, Weatherin, and also the two of you. And she drinks. Kyoko, the third mate, and she drinks as well. And
You
then,
said Kyoko?
yep. And then likewise to the cook, a real old man with like a crazy eye pointing in the wrong direction. And then he takes it over to you, Fennetir. And he says,
Been waiting.
"A holy man. Tell me, holy man, you seem very gentle and relaxed, but will you drink with me to the death of the silver squid?"
I'll drink anything.
I'll sit down. And then, and likewise, he hands it around to everybody else on the crew, and everybody's jumping around and shouting and yelling, "Enma, Enma, the death of the silver squid, the greatest fortune ever known, the greatest adversary ever faced by any kraken hunting vessel ever." And the scene closes on a riotous celebration as you sort of dance around and shout and yell, and there's grog getting spilled everywhere, baptizing the Fujin for its mission of death and vengeance in the cloudy sea. That is where we'll stop for today. Let us do experience. And what I want you to do...
Man, I had a good one if he came to me.
Oh, it came to you eventually. Give it to us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he looks the captain in the eye and says, "By the vengeance of Chernobog, your wrath and mine shall mix." And he slams down the goblet.
Interesting, bringing Chernobog into this. Okay. So that's where we're...
Yeah, Mal definitely sees this captain's goals as being spiritual, and he hears the curse of Palor and sees that this drive, this wrath of Captain Gorio is sufficient to combat this malaise of dark portent that has fallen upon the ship. He's hoping that the vigor that comes from wrath will drive them forward through the storm of doom.
Very good. So here's how we are going to do experience, and this is not the traditional Dungeons and Dragons system. It's a little bit homebrew, although I can't claim that it's completely homebrew because I did sort of take it from somebody else who does it this way in some podcast or something. Weathering.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's do it all at once. I had it written down that we would do it differently, but each of you think during this episode, did you take any risks to help your friends or your shipmates? I think we didn't really have much action this time, so it's okay if the answer is no.
Yeah, I don't think I did.
Tashash might be able to make an argument that he took a risk going into the
rail. He didn't realize it was. I suspect he didn't totally realize it was a risk at the time. But once he got over the rail, it was a risk. Also, staying on the ship was a risk. So.
Okay, well, Tashash can mark one experience for that. Is there any special way? This is also probably not applicable for this particular episode, but I'm going to ask it because it'll be in the future. This is one of the ways that you get experience. Is there any special way that you helped in the hunt for Enma, the silver squid? Nobody really did anything particularly because you just
riled up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of did, swearing to join myself to his cause.
You know what? That's good. Yeah. Okay. Mark one experience for that for you.
Okay.
Did you advance your personal quest? You each know what your personal quest is. I think that Sir Robert Watherin might have advanced his personal quest some.
Yeah.
Right?
He at least put effort. It's unclear if it advanced, but sure.
Anybody else?
Josh thinks he did. In that he stayed on the boat. And he's...
Yeah, but you already got a point for staying on the boat.
Well, but basically he's also following Malmer's lead.
Yeah.
Because Malmer has him thoroughly convinced that this is the only way to get to Nebulaster's Island. So... he was able to maintain his composure. Like he was able to, keep himself from jumping off the boat and trying to find, and running in the opposite direction. So he's
cool. Yeah.
At least in his mind, he's on track. Whether he's actually on track or not.
Okay. Yeah. Mark a second experience point for that.
For advancing personal quest, I'd say my goal of keeping allies and looking for more. I did another session of... No?
That's not your quest.
Oh, that quest. Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Cool. And then there is a secret one that I'm not going to tell you, but none of you fulfilled it. All right. And you should know the. So Dave, you get 2 experience points, and each of you. When I say mark XP for that, that's 1 point. And it is your current level times 4 is how many points you need to level up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that is all for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Tune in the same time next week for another exciting episode. And remember, failure is beautiful.